Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to part 10 of the GTO WIZARD trainer. Last episode we did verse Raise and a Call. Today we're going to be versing a Squeeze. Standard 9-player configuration. Doing it from pre-flop. So starting out here, we open Ace-Jack offsuit under the gun +2. Folds around to the button who calls. Then we have then the small blind 3 bets. Yep, small blind 3 bets to 13, big blind folds, sorry. As we discussed previously, small blind's going to have a very, very tight range, especially when they're 3 betting an already tight under the gun range. Mostly because they are incentivized to complete with a lot of hands, and it only really incentivized to rate or 3-bet with very, very strong hands, with the knowledge that they're going to be out of position in every single pot that they play. So they're more incentivized to be playing a far more defense than offense, considering their position, especially when it's against a very, very strong under the gun +2 range, and considering that there's a limper behind who also still is to act. So he's doing this, technically speaking, into 3 other players, because the big blind was still at act as well. So this is going to be a very, very strong range. Ace-Jack offsuit, a very polarizing hand. It's either going to be really good or really bad. We're pretty much just hoping to hit an ace or a jack as a top pair, or 2 pairs, and that's pretty much all we can hope for. And if we don't get that, then we don't really have any showdown value at all, other than a pure bluff catcher. And then majority of the time we are also going to be in outkicked or dominated situations with our ace. So we hit ace top pair, we're going to be outkicked by ace king, ace queen a lot of the times there. So I reckon this is a fold. So yep, correct move there. If we look up here, so we're pretty much only calling at some frequency with our pocket pairs, queens, king jack suited, ace queen suited, ace king off is calling at some frequency, kings is also calling at some frequency as well, as is ace 5 suited. I'm guessing just to kind of balance our 3-bet calling range from under the gun +2, and then we have the standard 4 bets from aces, ace king, both ace kings and queens at some frequency, and then also ace queen suited, ace jack suited, and then some other suited aces, some suited kings as bluffs in order to balance out that 4 betting range. Because as you can see on the left hand side, the small blinds range extremely, extremely tight. Yes, there's going to be some bluffs here as well, such as some suited connectors, some ace bluffs, some ace suited bluffs as well. But we're just not doing. If you look at compare our range on the right versus their range on the left, we're going to be put in a lot of tough situations, and ace jack offsuit is one of those hands where it's just going to get you into more trouble, unless you are obviously the pre-flop aggressor and you're up against what is a weaker range. So moving on to the next hand here. We open in the hijack, small blind completes, and then we're facing a 3-bet from the big blind. So once again, this is going to be another very, very strong range, mostly because they're doing this 3-bet into 2 people. Granted, yes, the hijack's opening range isn't as strong as the under the gun, so it doesn't have to be as strong from the big blind here. However, still with the small blind to act behind, who is most likely completing there with more so some suited connectors, some polarizing hands such as that ace jack off, which they'll be completing a lot of times. So yeah, they're going to have a little bit more weighted towards suited connector type of stuff from the small blind. But once again, big blind incentivized, similar type of situation with the small blind in terms of that they're incentivized to just check and complete with a lot of their hands. Mostly because they do still have that knowledge that they're going to be acting first post-flop. Therefore, they need to be playing far more defense than offense. So when they 3-bet, even though it's a hijack open, which is not as strong as under the gun open, they're still 3-betting a very, very strong range due to having to act first in all post-flop situations, and ace-10 suited against that range. Some very similar range to what we saw from the small blind. Ace-10 suited is going to be outkicked in a lot of situations, and ace-10 offsuit, once again, one of those very polarizing hands where it's either really good or really bad, and it's either we hit or we miss. So I reckon this is a fold. If we have a look to see if this was correct, so yeah, that was the correct move. As we can see on the left here, decently strong range from the big blind, some bluffs in there, of course. But then as we can see, so yeah, we're only really calling with similar type of hands as the previous one. So some ace-queen, ace-jack, king, some king suited, some ace suited, pocket pairs as just to balance out our range as our calling, and then 4-betting pretty much our top left, and some ace suited hands and some pocket pairs to kind of balance out that 4-betting range. So yeah, big blind range there, very, very tight, very, very strong. Here we are, next hand, so under the gun +2 opens. We complete from the small blind with ace-10 suited, so the reason we do that is, like I said before, in the small blind you're very incentivized just to complete a lot of times, and you want to avoid these kind of polarizing hands where it's either really good or really bad, and you're going to get to put in more tough post-flop situations. So that's why we're limping here and not 3-betting with an ace-10 suited, especially against a tight under-the-gun range, and then facing a 3-bet here from the big blind, as we saw previous, a 3-bet from the big blind against an under-the-gun range. We saw it against the hijack range, was already a very, very tight range as a 3-bet from the big blind. So up against an under-the-gun +2 range, that's going to be an even tighter range than we saw previously. So I reckon this is going to be an easy fold. So they're saying about 1% of the time you're going to be calling, but I don't reckon that's worth it. So yeah, the reason we do this, we're going to be outkicked in a lot of situations. We're more likely to put ourselves in a tough post-flop situation due to ace-10 being a very hit-or-miss hand, and also we're going to be outkicked in a lot of situations, and we are acting first. So main thing you got to remember with position is when you're out of position, you got to be playing more defense. When you're in position, you got to be playing more offense. And that should be what you should be considering when you're thinking about who's 3-betting who, who's calling who's opening from where. So exact same situation as the second hand. This time we got ace-queen off, facing the call from the small blind, and then the 3-bet from the big blind. I think this can, from memory, I think this can go either way. It's kind of like you call sometimes, you fold sometimes, but I think you're more weighted towards a fold. I got that wrong, so I guess we're more weighted towards... we're more weighted towards a 4-bet there. Okay, so it can go all 3 options, so that's on me. I thought it was just between a call or a fold. So all 3 options on the table, so the 4-bet, a call, and a fold, all on the table. If we have a look up here, so I'm assuming it's most. Ace queen offsuit. So yeah, ace queen suited is a call 100% of the time. I'm guessing because it has a little bit more playability, doesn't need as much protection. I'm guessing, and then ace queen off, due to being more polarized, I'm guessing they want to have a raise to try and just take down the pot there at a higher frequency. Kind of targeting their bluffs, I'm guessing, is kind of the idea of the ace-queen off, or maybe just to be balancing out our 4-bets. So yeah, it kind of goes all 3 options on the table, which makes sense to me. We talked about how the big blind has a very strong range. Ace-queen does play pretty well up against that, so I definitely understand either the continuation or the raise here. I guess also the idea is we are in position as well, so that's something I forgot to consider. We are in position. So yeah, that definitely makes sense for me. Moving on to the next hand, low jack opens. So low jack opens. We call on the button with ace-4 suited. Big blind then 3-bets. Folds back around. So low jack folds. We're on the button. Ace-4 suited, facing a big blind 3-bet, so decently strong range. Low jack, it's a decently strong range from the big blind. Low jack's not going to have as strong of range as the under the gun, so it means the big blind's not as strong as they would be if they're 3-betting under the gun, like 3-betting it under the gun. But I reckon, so this kind of, I believe, goes between a fold or a call. Call to trying to balance out your 3-bet calling range from the button, but I reckon this is going to be a fold. So yeah, standard fold, 100%. There we are. So if we look at our range here, so yeah, ace-5 suited is the only one that's going to be calling there at a low frequency. So because we limp, that's why we don't have this top left pretty much, and we don't really have any 3-bets either. The only thing that we're going to be limping with at all is ace-king off, and that's going to be a call or an all-in. I'm guessing the all-in due to stack to pot ratio, I'm guessing. And then we also got jacks here and queens here as well. So yeah, because we're limping, our range is very capped, as you can see by this top left not being highlighted, because we don't have those in our range due to limping, so you can take those out. And then we're limping just to see a flop with our suited ace. Didn't get that opportunity. And then as we can see versus the big blind's range, big blind, very, very strong range, outkicked in a lot of situations, and also playing, well, actually we are playing in position, but I'm guessing the reason is not as much playability as we would have liked. We probably would have continued with, maybe would have continued with some more playable hands post-flop, suited connectors, suited gappers, etc. But ace-4, more of a polarizing hand, it's either going to hit or it's not going to hit. And then you don't really have much else there afterwards, but we are in position, I guess, is the only thing going for us. But yeah, I reckon standard fold there, just not playing well up against that range. Moving on to the next hand, we open a low jack with king 5 suited. We get a call from the cutoff, a 3-bet from the button. So the button's, even though it is the button, they are 3-betting into 4 other people. So that's going to be a very, very strong range. So the more people you're betting into, the stronger your range has to be, even from the button. Both of the blinds fold. So here on the low jack with the cutoff still to act behind, buttons got a decently strong range. King 5 suited is not going to play well up against that. So that's going to be a standard fold from us. So yeah, we're only really, if we look on the left-hand side, we're only really 4-betting them with some bluffs, with some with some suited aces, some suited kings, or we're 4-betting with value, as we can see top left, and then 4-betting for bluffs in order to balance out that range is pretty much all we're doing there. The idea being 4-bet or fold type of strategy due to having to play out of position. We either want to be going in there with a really strong hand that we're comfortable playing out of position versus the button, or we're just going to be folding pretty much everything else. Here, low jack opens, we call on the button with pocket 10s, 3-bet from the big blind into 2 people. Low jack, the original opener, low jack folds, and then we're on the button here with pocket 10s. I reckon this is in between a call or a fold. I definitely would have rathered a hand with a little more playability. However, pocket 10 is probably too strong to fold, so I reckon this is going to be a call. King, king, 8, that hits the big blind's range far more than us. We do have second pair here, so that would be a very, very nitty fold, I believe. But when we go half pot here, being first to act, I reckon this is a fold. So it says, so pre-flop should have been a fold, okay. I believe that's so they're, yes, okay, so they're saying fold about 80% of the time, and then an all-in is a bluff or a call at a low frequency. And then we're really only, calling ace-queen, ace-jack. We don't have top of range because we limped, so we've capped ourselves. We are 4-betting with our queens, our jacks, our ace-king off, ace-5 suited at some frequency as bluffs. I'm considering that 10s and 8s also in that same category, just to balance out your 4-betting range. So yeah, calls about 10%, so second highest, fold majority of the time. Then when it comes around to us, so they do a standard C-bet. Very standard play when they have range advantage on us. They're going to have far more king X here. yeah, so it should have been a call. That makes sense to me. So when you got second paired in that situation, a lot of times it is a bulk standard call. When there's two kings out there, they are less likely to have a king, and the pocket pair is good there in a lot of situations. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it would be a call, especially just versus standard c-bet. So that makes sense to me. So yeah, definitely a nitty fold, as I said. So yeah, definitely should be calling there. Moving on to the next hand, we open the low jack. We get a call from the button, facing a 3-bet from the big blind. Once again, big blind, very strong range. It's going to be a standard fold. Queen 9 suited opening bluff. So we're going to fold those bluffs once they get caught. Next hand, cutoff opens. We're in the small blind. We call with pocket 9s. 3-bet from the big blind. Once again, big blind doing it into 2 other people. Yes, the small blind is capped, but the cutoff is still uncapped. And the big blind knowing that they're going to have to be playing out of position potentially to the cutoff here if they call, especially as the pre-flop aggressor, with us still to act behind. I reckon pocket 9s here is a fold. Big blind, very, very strong range. Call, it's a call at some frequency. So if we look at our continuing, we're pretty much only continuing with ace-jack suited, king-queen suited, and ace-queen off. Like I said before, we capped ourselves by limping originally, so took out a lot of the hands that we would be continuing against this very, very strong big blind range, as you can see on the right-hand side. And then we're also continuing with, and then we're raising with jacks, 10s, ace-queen off, pretty much. I reckon, I'm assuming the reason why we're going all in must be due to not wanting to play out of position, just kind of realize the equity, or hopefully just take down the pot. Does seem a little bit interesting to be just shoving straight up there with stack to pot ratio and not a concern at that point. So it does seem a little bit interesting to me. Moving on to the next hand, hijack. We open the hijack, folds around to the button, who calls. Small blind folds. Once again, we got a 3-bet from the big blind. Queen 10 not going to be good up against that very strong big blind range. This is going to be a standard fold. As we've looked at before, so yeah, pretty much only continuing with real top left of stuff, or some ace suited bluffs, or some king suited bluffs at some point, just to balance out that calling range or the 4-betting range. But yeah, big blind's going to be a very strong range there with 2 players in position to them, both left to act, so they're doing that 3-bet into 2 people that are both in position in relative to them. So there's our 10 hands. Final stats ended up 10 hands, 11 moves, GTO score of 85%. 8 best moves, 3 correct ones. So pretty much overfolding, well, underfolding pre-flop with the 10s, and then overfolding on the flop. And then what was this one? This should have been I believe it should have been a raise. Instead I flatted, I believe. What was this one? Hang on. So should have been a raise. Ace queen off with the hijack facing a big blind 3-bet, so that should have been a raise rather than a fold. And the rest was all pretty standard. A lot of them we were opening as bluff to balance out our opening range. Got 3-bet, got a fold when it's a very, very strong 3-bet range from the big blind. It's a beauty. I hope you guys learned something. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Play well.